Good evening. I'm Michael Limber, Board Chairman of the Connecticut Democracy Center. Do you get sad when you open the newspaper and read about the news? This was the question that my 10-year-old son Marty asked me many, many years ago. And you know that it happened many, many years ago because I referenced opening a newspaper. Doesn't it make you angry to read about all the bad stuff in the world, he asked. And I told him, you can read the newspaper every day, and you can choose to be sad or angry or frustrated, or you can choose to do something about it. Marty thought about that answer, and then he said, well, what can I do to change the world? I'm 10 years old. Fix what is right in front of you. That was my answer. Fix what is right in front of you. Help one person, Marty. If it means nothing more than opening the door or carrying the groceries of someone who's struggling, that is fixing the problem right in front of you. Help 20 people. Gather contributions for the food pantry in our town to help the food insecure. That is fixing the problem right in front of you. And as you get older, Marty, maybe you can help hundreds or even thousands by becoming involved in your community through a not-for-profit organization, or you can run for public office to help fix the problem right in front of you. At its heart, this commitment is the very nature of citizenship and civic engagement. And where that engagement takes root, democracy flourishes. And that is what we have come to honor tonight. It is my privilege to welcome you here to the first annual Connecticut Democracy Center Awards. The Connecticut Democracy Center is a nonpartisan, not-for-profit corporation that seeks to inspire people of all ages to engage in civic life and strengthen their communities. We envision a society where everyone is empowered to participate in our democracy. So how do we do that? Well, we inform, we educate, and we empower. To inform, we manage the Connecticut Network, or CTN, Connecticut's source for state government and public affairs. And with our partner, the Connecticut General Assembly, we produce television and webcast coverage of all three branches of Connecticut state government. And apart from informing the state on policy and chronicling every aspect of the legislative process, CTN became a critical source of official information during the COVID pandemic, covering Governor Lamont's daily briefings. To educate, and along with our legislative partners, we manage Connecticut's Old State House, where history and civics meet. We bring thousands of school children here every year, and we teach them about the three branches of government that occupied these halls for 82 years. We stand tonight in the midst of history. In 1780, George Washington met with General Rochambeau to cement the alliance that led to French support for American independence right here on this site. The Amistad trial began here in 1839 that ultimately affirmed the freedom of 35 abducted Africans who rebelled against Spanish slave traders. Our award-winning Connecticut History Day program enriches civics education for more than 4,000 middle and high school students across the state who compete along an annual theme that is set by the National History Day organization. This year's theme, Turning Points in History, and participating students will prepare research papers, create exhibits and websites. They'll write plays, songs, produce documentaries that will be judged in the regional contests that lead to the state contest and ultimately to the national contest. We were also proud of the programming we provide for the Connecticut Freedom Trail, which connects places and stories of the fight for freedom and human dignity across Connecticut, from safe houses along the Underground Railroad to historic sites from the Civil Rights Movement. Our other public programs explore aspects of government, democracy, and issues of the day from historical and modern-day perspectives. And to empower, well, 10-year-old Cristiano Almeida from Southington was inaugurated as Connecticut's 9th kid governor in this very room just 2 weeks ago. And along with his 6-member cabinet, Governor Almeida will work with Connecticut Democracy Center staff to implement his campaign platform promoting physical fitness for kids. Nearly 10,000, there we go. Let's hear it. Cristiano will be thrilled to hear that he got applause just for that. Nearly 10,000 fifth graders from 160 schools across Connecticut participated in this year's election. And every constitutional officer, from the governor and lieutenant governor to the Secretary of State and many members of our congressional delegation, have over the years come out to honor our signature Kid Governor program that we originated here at the Connecticut Democracy Center. And we have reached beyond Connecticut's borders with this program. We've basically franchised in Georgia, Oklahoma, New Hampshire, and Oregon, and that's just to date. We've got a couple of other states interested. Our Connecticut Democracy Center Award honorees are living examples of these 3 principles to inform, educate, and empower. Before we go further, I would like to acknowledge our sponsors tonight: Cummings and Lockwood, Robinson and Cole, Center Church, the Public Outreach Committee of the Connecticut District Court, Hinckley Allen, Newbert Pepe and Monteith, and finally, Travelers Insurance, as well as all of you for purchasing tickets to share in our celebration tonight. The Connecticut Democracy Center is extraordinarily grateful for your commitment to be here. And the monies raised here will go to support the programs I just described for you. And as you circulate, please look for members of our professional staff or board of directors, and feel free to ask questions or find out how you can become involved. I am delighted now to introduce the Connecticut Democracy Center's president and chief executive officer, and my dear friend, Mr. William Bavacqua.
All right, thanks, Mike. Good evening, I am Bill Bavacqua, and I'm pleased to join our chairman in welcoming all of you to our first annual Connecticut Democracy Center Awards celebration. Thank you. You know, in a little over a month, CTN and our whole organization, in fact, will celebrate its 25th birthday. That's a milestone we're awfully proud of, but welcoming you to this building tonight helps keep me humble because it serves to remind me that we're just getting started compared to the old State House, which turns 228 in May. Looks pretty good for its age. And now that I think about it, I kind of like the perspective that the Connecticut Democracy Center is still, in fact, at the start of its story. We're just getting warmed up when it comes to informing, educating, empowering, and inspiring our neighbors to share the privilege and the duty that comes with living in a self-governing society. Because whether someone's contribution takes the form of voting, volunteering, serving on a jury, supporting organizations they think do good, holding public office, or simply letting their voice be heard while still listening to that of their neighbor, those contributions should remind all of us that our democracy, our self-governing republic, is only as healthy as what each of us brings to it. We've created the Connecticut Democracy Center Awards not just to recognize the contributions of the individuals and organizations being honored tonight, but also to recognize the example they set for the rest of us. From all the nominations we received, we chose the stories that most inspired us in hopes that they would inspire you. Our awards show is going to be a little different from what you might see on the Oscars or the Golden Globes. For starters, we have a much cooler venue than the Kodak Theater in LA. Tonight, in this courtroom that was once the home of our state Supreme Court, we will invite our honorees to the stage to receive their awards, then sit them down for a conversation to talk about their own approaches to, as my friend Mike would say, fixing the problem right in front of them. This is the kind of conversation we specialize in at the Connecticut Democracy Center, and we have a very special one planned for you tonight. So without further ado, it is my honor and privilege to announce our award winners. The CTDC Community Leader Award goes to an individual who brings people together to address problems or positively impact their community. Since his appointment as a U.S. District Judge for the District of Connecticut in 1994, this year's recipient is known for his substantial contributions, not just to the administration of justice in our state, but also to the court's community outreach, encouraging citizenship and civic engagement. His work with the Salvation Army, the Warburton Chapel, and the Honorable Warren W. Edgington Institute, which provides high school students with a week-long education on our justice system, are but a few examples of his extraordinary commitment to the community. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the recipient of the 2024 Community Leader Award, the Honorable Alvin W. Thompson. The CTDC Business Leader Award goes to a business or organization that implements initiatives to improve the quality of life for residents of Connecticut. Organizations can have a substantial impact on promoting civic engagement through its employees and bringing the message of democracy to a broader audience in the community at large. The Travelers Insurance Company was founded here in Hartford in 1859 and has a long history of civic engagement in our state. Their non-partisan civic engagement initiative, Citizen Travelers, provides thousands of their employees with the resources and support to engage in our democracy and shape civic life. Every employee who gets involved brings the skills they develop at Travelers, such as teamwork, civil dialogue, and innovation into their communities. Ladies and gentlemen, accepting the 2024 Business Leader Award for Travelers, please welcome Janice Bruner, Travelers Group General Counsel and Head of Civic Engagement. The CTDC Philanthropic Leader Award goes to an individual who funds projects and nonprofit organizations that encourage civic engagement and positively impact our state. Our inaugural recipient, Mary Gawlicki, receives this award posthumously. Mary and her husband, Ted, ran a successful international business called Corporate Translations Incorporated for 26 years. In 2016, they used a portion of the sale proceeds of CTI to found the Gawlicki Family Foundation. Mary and Ted built their foundation around the principle of we fund forward. For them, forward means education, providing every student with the tools to compete in the 21st century economy. Forward means community, affording social and economic opportunity to every member of our community. Propelled by their commitment to education and engagement, the Gawlicki Family Foundation has provided grants totaling $1.5 million annually to upwards of 30 grantees, including the Ready CT internship program at the Hartford Public High School, the Hartford Promise Scholarship Fund, Hartford Youth Scholars, the Hartford Public Library's Leap into Learning Literacy Program, Hartford Boys and Girls Clubs, the Community First School, and our own Connecticut Democracy Center. Besides being a generous supporter of our programs, Mary served on the Connecticut Democracy Center's Board of Directors since 2018, helping guide our organization through some of the most challenging years and sharing in some of our greatest accomplishments. Mary passed away last May after a long struggle with heart and lung disease, but not before the plans for this event had started to take shape. Looking around the room, I think she'd be very proud tonight. While we continue to miss our dear friend, we are pleased to honor her passionate commitment to both community philanthropy and the mission of the Connecticut Democracy Center. Ladies and gentlemen, accepting Mary's 2024 Philanthropic Leader Award, henceforth to be called the Mary C. Gawlicki Philanthropic Leader Award, please welcome Ted Gawlicki, co-founder of the Gawlicki Family Foundation. Moderating our panel tonight is Anita Ford Saunders. Anita is a veteran broadcaster whose resume includes NBC Connecticut and WFSB Channel 3 locally, along with a number of television stations in Washington, D.C., Michigan, and Massachusetts. Today, she is the principal and owner of AFS Communications and the president of the Middlesex County branch of the NAACP, not to mention yet another of the Connecticut Democracy Center's extraordinary board of directors. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our moderator, Anita Ford Saunders.
I was instructed to move the chair up right here. Thank you all. Welcome. It is an honor, really an honor for all three of you to be here. I'm going to start with you, though, Judge. Oh, gosh, look at his face. Okay. All right. You know, I was reading your bio, but I also was very intrigued with the universal principles of the rule of law. Didn't know anything about those. Accountability, just law, open government, and accessible and impartial justice. Sounds real simple, sounds real easy, okay? But the rule of law is being challenged every single day. How can the legal system achieve all of that?
I'd like to sort of lay the foundation as to why the rule of law is so important in our democracy. Our democracy and most democracies have citizens who come from a variety of backgrounds. They have differing perspectives, views, sometimes competing values that lead to disagreement and at times serious disagreements. The democracy does not function well unless there are rules and procedures that people are able to follow. And I think that's where the rule of law comes into play. I think we're all familiar with the expression that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And in our democracy in particular, I think that will not be true unless we have a democracy that functions well. The people think about the rule of law, they sometimes think that it means the legal system. The World Justice Project has a definition that I endorse, which is that it's a system of certain things. It's laws, it's institutions, it's norms, social norms, and it's also community commitment. And I think where we who are in this room come into play most significantly, sorry to my colleagues on the bench, is social norms and community commitment. You need those things operating as part of that system in order to have a vibrant rule of law. I think you need the vibrant rule of law in able to have a democracy that functions well. And then I think you have those results, the principles that you just referred to.
The work you've done, though, you do a lot of extracurricular work when it comes to making sure that your colleagues, your peers, other young people understand all of that. Why? Why did you decide to take those extra steps?
It's a combination of two reasons. One is something I find personally rewarding and satisfying. And two, it's something that I think is very, very important and requires people who are, who value the result. And I value the result. In terms of personal satisfaction, I've always taken pleasure in being in groups where you have a discussion and people come from different perspectives. And as a result of a discussion or debate where people are respectful and are thoughtful, you come up with a resolution that is better than you would have gotten from any one individual in the group who'd made the decision. I always have liked knowing how things worked, and I really like figuring out how that dynamic works. So that's very satisfying to me. It's been, I mean, I can look back when I was in college and I had a job and we had a student board that ran the employees of the dining hall. I saw it when I was playing team sports. I see it when I watch juries at work rather. Um, I, um, I even see it at my church, which has a congregational polity, and I think you see the passage in 1 Corinthians chapter 12 about varieties of the gifts played out in many settings, not just in a church setting. So I find that very satisfying in terms of why I think it's so vitally important. Um, we have a country that was founded on a set of principles that is really inspiring, but they are challenging to live up to. I don't think that we can do a good job of doing that unless it's a collective effort where everyone from every spectrum of society and every walk of life and every political persuasion works together.
So I want to talk a little bit about collective effort, and I want to talk to you, Janice, about collective effort. You've got a company that you all decided, Citizen Travelers. How did that come about? Now this is not just everybody in the family, okay? This is very large. How did you decide to do that? And then what has that experience been like?
Sure. So it really came about, our CEO, Alan Snitzer, said about 2 years ago, how can we become more involved in civic engagement as a company? And how can we kind of lead in this space? And we've always been, what we like to say is we've always been a good corporate citizen. But with Citizen Travelers, we're really trying to find new ways to be a corporation of good citizens. So how do we take kind of our community engagement and kind of turn it up a notch and really focus on our employees leading within their communities, not just as volunteers, but as people who are serving on the town council or serving on their school board or somehow being more involved kind of in the democracy, whether that's getting out the vote or we're doing an initiative that we just rolled out last week on Help America Vote Day to encourage employees to become election or poll workers because there's a shortage of election and poll workers. So really trying to kind of find new ways to say in a very nonpartisan way, we are all part of this democracy, and how do we become a more vibrant part of it, and how do we all pitch in, so to speak? And so we've done that in a lot of different ways. One kind of is a robust get out the vote effort, and I'm looking at Lindsay because she runs that, and she's sitting in the front row, so thank you, Lindsay. And then other things are education. So we look at this idea of, you hear these statistics about how, you stop someone, 3 people on the street and 2 out of the 3 don't know the 3 branches of government, right? How do we look at that and say, how can we be more active in learning more about our democracy and learning more about civics and kind of reviving that kind of civics education? And so we've just done a lot of things to kind of look at learning, civic learning, engaging, and also leading. So I think what we realized is businesses have a role to play. And we have 30,000 employees that are spread across the country. And they, to your, similar, like I couldn't agree more with what you said. I mean, our employees have all different perspectives and experiences. And how can we engage in a way that everyone within the company who's engaging with these programs feels welcome and included and inspired to get involved? So a lot of what we've also been doing is finding ways for employees to engage in their local communities in a civic way to address the problems that matter to them. So we are we like to say we're aggressively nonpartisan. So we're not, we want to be very careful. We're not telling people how to vote or what to care about, but everybody has their own issues as to what's important to them. So finding ways for people to, we're saying, whatever matters to you, whatever you think should happen in our democracy, go be part of that. Don't be a bystander. We support you in kind of getting involved. And so it's been a really inspiring experience for me to be a part of.
That's what I was going to ask. The
Yeah.
experience itself with all those employees, do you have, is everyone involved in that, or just, are you just building it and more people here across the country? What does that look like now?
So we've been kind of building and growing over the past couple of years. We started kind of not knowing, I think when we started this initiative, we didn't know how engaged people would want to be or how many people would want to be involved. And what we've learned is people are really engaged. I'm looking, we've got a couple people here who actually, in the front row, who are actually kind of model citizen travelers, citizens, because they, Mary LaChance and Ojalane, they serve on their town councils. And so what we've found is by finding people within Travelers who actually are out living this model and doing things that others could do, and spotlighting them and showing other employees the way and saying, you can work full-time at Travelers and also be on your town council, or also be on your school board, or also volunteer as an election worker, you know, every November. I think it's really inspiring other people to actually get involved as well. Because, I mean, I will say personally for me, when I hear about what some people are doing, I think, wow, I can't sit on my couch this weekend. I actually have to find a way to get out there. And so I think it really does kind of pay it forward, because people see other people doing it and they decide to do it too.
Ted, you and Mary haven't been sitting on the couch, you know. Mary was wonderful. Terrell was talking a little bit about Mary and our experience. I'm a new board member, so to speak, and how inspiring she was. And also, she would always put people at ease. She was very graceful, always put people at ease. Yet you have a family foundation. You all make decisions on who to fund, who to grant this money to. What was that like? I mean, families are families. You know, we sometimes put the fund in dysfunctional, but you know, it's making those decisions. What was your process?
Well, first let me say thank you for everyone coming and supporting the Democracy Center, which is doing a tremendous amount of good work, and also for thinking about my wife. To tell you a little bit about Mary, Mary was very happy, smart, strong-willed woman whose defining characteristics was kindness and caring. From the time we started dating in 1979 through 43 years of marriage in several geographic locations, she always found an elderly widow to take to church, to get her hair cut, to go shopping with, and eventually to invite to our Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner, so that they actually became a member of our family. And that's just the way she was. She didn't have to think about reaching out. That's just how she acted. And I never saw Mary happier or prouder than 93-year-old Irene Ressian, who was living in the senior center and stores, decided that she was going to write her obituary before she died. And when she wrote it, she stated that Mary was her best friend. And that was extremely rewarding to Mary. The criteria that we use in our foundation has 4 parts. First and foremost, it has to be focused on either economic development or education in the city of Hartford. Second, the definition of what will make this program be successful has to be very clear and understandable, which I can tell you is very often not the case. Third, how many children will this grant request impact? Because we try and impact as many children as we possibly can on the funds that we have available. And finally, we set up with our nonprofits mutually agreed upon key performance indicators on what is going to happen to make this a success. And if the nonprofit meets their KPIs, we're very likely to increase our funding to them. If they fail to meet their KPIs, we're very likely to cease funding them. So accountability and performance is really built into how we look at the process. So it's what's being offered, and then can you achieve it, and how good you're going to be. And so far, it's worked out well for us. We have probably 30 grantees in Hartford, and we've moved the needle at least a little.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah. We fund forward. What does that mean?
Well, we try and transform someone's idea into a solution. So taking our Democracy Center as an example, they recognized that civics education in the state of Connecticut was in a marked decline. And that's how they came up with the idea for Kid Governor, which you've heard a little bit about. And in Kid Governor, the children have to learn how state government actually operates. They have to develop a platform to run on, which usually includes solving some problem that they say existing in Connecticut, existing in Connecticut. And then they have to get a video and run and try and win against all the other students that are trying to be the Kid Governor. So we took their idea for Kid Governor and funded it into a solution that greatly improved civics education in Connecticut, and which also brought to light many problems that existed in the state of Connecticut, even though they're just being identified by fifth graders and very often were acted upon. Another example where we transformed ideas to solutions is Makerspace. Many of you know it's just down the street. And they had the idea that they were going to teach high school students the principles of engineering, CAD, and 3D printing by starting a program called Make Enable, where the students would design and implement prosthetic hands. And we funded this idea, and they were very successful in making these prosthetic hands, which, not surprisingly, but amazingly, have come to be predominantly used by Ukraine soldiers. And so the idea went to two solutions. The solution was these kids became educated in principles of engineering, CAD, 3D printing, and made a very viable product. And the Ukraine soldiers had some help in facing adversity and getting better. And so that's kind of the philosophy that we follow when we get involved in projects.
KPIs, results. How do you measure results? Judge, how do you measure results with the work that you do off the bench?
Off the bench. I have more of a qualitative than quantitative measure. My experience has been that oftentimes you sow the seeds and then it takes a while to see the results. I base this on my own experiences growing up and looking back on what caused me to be the person I am today and have the values I have today. At the time that I was learning lessons, I didn't realize I was learning lessons from people. It's only when I look back and think about, well, why do I think this? Why do I have this attitude or this appreciation? And I see that somebody did something with no expectation of immediate return, but they sort of helped me develop. So I measure by the quality of the effort that's made, and I have an intuitive feel for that, I think. You keep on trying until you're too tired to do more.
That is true. Janice, how do you measure? I think your measurement is all in the front row here.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
You brought that with you.
Yeah.
But and your program is new. What are your goals? What do you see 5 years from now?
So it's an interesting question about the measurement, because I think one of the things that we've kind of struggled with is this idea of, in the corporate world, oftentimes you look at metrics, right? So how many people are logging onto your programs if we do a webinar, or how many people are opening your emails if we send out reminders, or how many people are attending like an event that we host. And so what we started out was looking at the numbers, and we said, are we getting the kind of numbers we want to be able to keep promoting our program and to say, like, we should expand and grow this? And then we took a step back, and I think it's similar to what you said with the quality versus quantity, and said, is it really the numbers that we need? Like, do we need, we have over 30,000 employees. Do we need 15,000 of them signing up for our things? That's probably not going to happen. Or do we need a core group of employees who have said, this really matters to me. This is something I was really looking for, and this is something I want to be a part of. And also we decided to start looking at, is this work that we're doing, or is this programming, or are these ideas making a difference to people who are involved? So are we changing, like, are people saying, I actually am going to vote, this time around, or I'm going to learn the issues, or I'm going to, help my neighbor in a way I wasn't, or, this issue matters to me, I'm going to become more involved in it. And if, like, to me, if we make that, if like there's a few people doing that, or more than a few, then I think we've made a lot bigger difference than if we have huge numbers. And so I think one of the things that we've really been celebrating is, our CEO has been celebrating, is there were 5 people at Travelers that won local elections in November. So 5 out of 30,000 isn't a lot, but it's really great that, and so we, the more we celebrate that, and the more we get people to say, hey, I am going to get involved in my town government because it's important and someone needs to do it, I think that's how we measure success.
You all have been very much an inspiration to me, to all of us. When we started this, it was, we had a lot of conversation, because democracy, it's not, it's not a glass. It's not something that we can put our fingers on. How would you inspire, I want to ask each one of you, and Ted, I'll start with you. How would you inspire individuals, families, to do more of what you're doing?
Well, one of the reasons that I'm sitting up here tonight is in the hopes that I can inspire some people to apply to our foundation and have a good idea that we can work on. And we try to just inspire people by example. Through our foundation, we've gotten to know most of the major nonprofits in the city of Hartford, and their representatives and their children. And it's amazing what a kind word can do, or a little voice of encouragement. I don't think we have, really a slogan for this. It's just an intangible that we try and present every single day, or we did, and I do it now.
Janice, what about you?
I think one of the things that we really like about Citizen Travelers is, so often in business you're worried about competition, right? When with Citizen Travelers, the thing is, if every business did this, and all these employees across the United States were getting involved in our democracy, I mean, think of what an impact we could have. And so that's been really nice, is saying, rather than we can really, I think, lead for others in the business community and hopefully share what we've learned through this with others. So we have materials and partnerships and ideas that we'd love to share, kind of to bring everybody along and to get involved and kind of work together. So that's been really nice, and something that I've found very rewarding.
Judge, you have the last word.
Oh, good. I try to inspire people by helping them understand what the stakes are, and that it's not necessarily simple, and there are things you can do. I get to use my book I bought, which I want to put, it's not my book, sorry. It's by Richard Haas. It's called The Bill of Obligations. I found it when I was out Christmas shopping, and I bought it for myself. But it has 10 things that citizens should do to help make our democracy work better. And these are the things that create the social norms and the community commitment that I mentioned earlier. And when I talk about these kinds of things and other things, one of the things I try to do is to relate to people based on experiences they can identify with. So, for instance, I was at a high school in Bloomfield, and somebody had a question about the legal system, and this didn't come out right. So we shouldn't have the legal system, or we should get rid of this or that. So I asked them, well, I'd asked them a little bit about themselves before we started, and some of them played sports. And this person, I think, played basketball. So I said, when you play basketball, there's somebody calling fouls, right? Do they always get it wrong? always get it right, I'm sorry. No, sometimes they get it wrong, at least you think so. Do you think you ought to just do away with anybody calling fouls because one of the calls was wrong? No. So I try to sort of make the lessons relatable to things that they have experience with. There was somebody else who plays violin in a band, and so I try to think about how can you take what you're trying to teach them in terms of an abstract principle and relate it to experiences that they have in life. So that's
it. So you make it real for people?
you could say that. I wouldn't, but I'd say something much less entertaining and more boring.
I think you do.
I'll learn that. My daughters will make me use that impression.
All right. Okay. I think you do a pretty good job. Thank you all so very much. You have been an inspiration. Thank you. All right.
Can I get one more round of applause for our award recipients and our moderator, Anita Ford Saunders? While we're acknowledging people, I do want to take a minute to thank some of the other folks who've been instrumental to our evening's success. You guys can come off the stage. You've done your work for the night. So in the line of thank you, starting with our executive producer for tonight's panel discussion and vice chair of our board, Terrell Mitchell-Smith. Our entire board, in fact, has shown off its awe-inspiring ground game tonight with this event, encouraging sponsors, encouraging ticket sales, and filling volunteer slots all over the place. So a big thank you to everyone. In the booth, as we say in the TV business, is Paul Scaff, our Executive Director of Media Services and the Technical Director for tonight's program. Among our greeters, ushers, and coat check people are several student volunteers from the Southern Connecticut State University, and we thank them for spending this evening with us, helping out as well. Sally Whipple, our executive director here at Connecticut's Old State House, and her entire team ensure this building provides a welcoming and enriching experience for every visitor, and they've pulled out all the stops tonight. Sally and I both hope we see you back here for a visit sometime soon. Special thanks goes out to our events and outreach manager, Nicole Souza, who helps bring so many special events to life and manages our facility rental program here at the Old State House. So if you like the job we did downstairs in the Mortensen Gallery, consider us for your next event. Last but by no means least, I want to thank the dynamic duo of Barbara Dell, our marketing manager, and Joy Morse, our emeritus director of development, who, despite being a newly minted Vermont resident since just before Thanksgiving, has coordinated every detail of tonight flawlessly. Please put your hands together for the entire professional staff and board of directors of the Connecticut Democracy Center. Thank you. And, you know, that's really how it works. People with different jobs, different backgrounds, and different perspectives, just like Janice said a minute ago, coming together to define shared goals, solve problems, and achieve great things. That's a hallmark of civic engagement, civic leadership, and citizenship. It's what we celebrate tonight in Judge Thompson, Citizen Travelers, and Mary Gawlicki, and it's how the Connecticut Democracy Center works every day to inspire people of all ages to achieve. When you support the Connecticut Democracy Center, you're helping to build and maintain a lifetime pathway of programs that inform, educate, and inspire audiences of all ages all across Connecticut. Some involve public-private partnerships that rely on partial philanthropic support. Other projects are entirely funded through the generosity of people just like you, here with us tonight, or who might catch the rebroadcast in the coming days. Many of our programs are multi-platform, in residence here at the Old State House, reaching into classrooms and streaming out to audiences across Connecticut and even across the country. A donation to the Connecticut Democracy Center makes so much of what we do possible. Here at Connecticut's Old State House, they support special events like Nights at the Public House and our summer concert series, traveling exhibits, and public programs like our upcoming limited series, Control Alt Democracy, that over 3 installments over the summer will delve into the impact of technology on elections, government, and public policy. Support for the Connecticut Democracy Center brings Connecticut's Kid Governor to life, providing voting kits and ballot boxes to schools participating in the statewide election, subsidizing transportation to Inauguration Day or for the annual statewide election bus rally, and enabling the implementation of going on 9 Kid Governor platforms. Participants in Connecticut History Day get what is often their first experience on a college campus at a regional and state contests, while sharpening research and critical thinking skills that are foundational to media and information literacy for kids rapidly approaching voting age. We're still looking for judges, so if anybody's interested in volunteering, let us know. Scholarships for our state contest winners help propel our Connecticut delegation to the National History Day competition at the University of Maryland each year. And our newest secondary education programs, the Connecticut Democracy Center Debate Tournament and We the People, the Citizen and the Constitution, will now start to add more opportunities for research, rhetoric, and teamwork, while introducing another pathway to a national academic competition in the case of We the People. And that's just the stuff I can tell you about tonight. There are other initiatives on the drawing board and in the pipeline that will provide even more audiences with exciting, authentic, nonpartisan programming designed to inspire people of all ages to engage in civic life and strengthen their communities. But we can't do it without your help. Allow me to thank you one last time for joining us tonight and for your support of the Connecticut Democracy Center. I will now turn the podium back to my co-host, friend, and board chair, Michael Imber.
Thanks, Bill. If you're sitting in the audience tonight, we have already been the beneficiaries of your generosity, and I thank you for that. But if you have found tonight inspiring, if you believe in the work of the Connecticut Democracy Center is doing, if you're excited to see what we do next, your continued support would be amazing. Give whatever amount you're comfortable, and just as important, spread the word to your friends and family so they can get excited about the work we do too. The Connecticut Democracy Center is a 501c3 public charity, so your donations may be tax deductible depending on your situation. Consult your tax advisor about that. We have plenty of easy and convenient ways and secure ways for you to give. Scan the QR code that's in your program or on the screen, or visit connecticutdemocracycenter.org. There's a nice little donate button there for you to make a one-time contribution or schedule an annual or a monthly gift. For our more analog friends, we would never leave you out, so you can write a check or use a credit card and write that on the donor card that's in your goodie bag that you'll have on the way out. Just slip it in the envelope provided and hand it to one of our volunteers here in the courtroom or outside in the Great Hall. When I open the newspaper every day now, or to update the scenario, when I boot up my newspaper every day, there are plenty of stories about threats to democracy here and abroad. Let me leave you with this. Democracy is very much alive, but it needs nurturing. It needs informing, educating, and empowering is how we nurture at the Connecticut Democracy Center. And for all of you, I gently throw the gauntlet of challenge to fix what is right in front of you. Thank you all very much for coming tonight. I invite you out into the Great Hall where we'll have a champagne toast to honor our awardees and enjoy the rest of the evening and explore the Old State House here in Hartford. Thank you.